Do you hear that dog in the background? Yeah.
Podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today I'm joined with Todd, Friedel. And now, have you relocated back to Wisconsin? You said, right?
I am. Yep. I'm
You
back
are.
here in Wisconsin. Yeah.
How do you like the wind today? Pretty windy, huh?
It was crazy. Way colder wind than I remember. So gonna have to definitely get used to that again.
Right. Before we get talking Packers, I just want to give a thanks to Ohana Packers or Ope Network for giving me the chance to podcast under their umbrella. And currently on my YouTube page, I am at 214 subscribers, 36 more subscribers until I give away the From Wisconsin with Love. So that is a Cheese Life hoodie in whatever color you want to pick from on their website. And then there's a local cheese shop by me. I like to talk highly about them because I think they have the best cheese around. Scurry Cheese Shop in De Pere, Wisconsin. They've offered to give away 7 individual 14-ounce bags of fresh cheddar curds, any flavor that you want. So, yeah. So again, 36 more subs on my YouTube channel. I'll be giving away some goodies from Wisconsin. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool to just go around and, a lot of these places, like, yeah, some people don't even know we're around. And, you get people that like to go and promote them and, plug them and everything. And next thing you know, you got people coming from out of town to come to Packer games or, it's cool. So, yeah. So we just came off a Packer victory against, let's first talk about the Eagles game in week 1, Todd. What was your biggest takeaway from that game besides Jordan Love getting hurt?
The Packers don't do well in these international games. Obviously, they're 0-2. Field conditions. And I just think that it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation with playing your starters in the preseason. I don't think they had enough reps, and they went into that Philadelphia game just underprepared as far as like playing real NFL football. And it's tough. I don't know how you balance it as a coach, but you look at Kansas City and you look at some of the other teams that are successful, and they do play their starters in the preseason way more than the Packers have since LaFleur got there. So, I don't know. It's a tough call.
You know what kind of drove me nuts today, and it made me flash back to that game against the Eagles, is Josh Allen rolled out of the pocket and he got hit low. Then he got pushed over from the top and he hit his head and he had to go for concussion protocol. And they brought on a rules expert, quote unquote, and said because he was out of the pocket, he was a runner and he was allowed to be grabbed around below the knees. And it brings me back to my post I had on Twitter against the Eagles about Jordan Love. He was in the pocket and he got what I thought was a combo tackle and there was no flag. Right. Who does this rule apply to, and how do they call it? Because if that's the case, he was in the pocket and he got tackled below the knees. He got hurt and there's no flag. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, they seem to do everything. Like, if you can go back and you can find Josh Jacobs for running the football and lowering his shoulder to take on a tackle, then you certainly could go back and find an Eagles defensive lineman for, a low hit on Jordan Love. And again, I think it's one of those things where how much rev this is going to sound horrible,
No,
but
I know exactly what
how
you're
much
what you're heading for.
how much revenue does that number on that team generate for the NFL? And if it's Josh Allen money, then they're going to go and they're going to throw the flag, or they're going to go back and they're going to make the call at the beginning of the next week. But unfortunately, Jordan Love isn't in that status right now as far as the NFL is concerned. So they don't make that kind of correction.
Yeah, it's still I still think back to that post, and it's I still can't believe all the impressions it got on Twitter. That was crazy. It was like 1.2 million people, and I had I always say I had a bunch of people in my inbox that were saying some nice things to me. So, another thing I noticed about today's game versus like when we had Malik Willis is I know you could script the game around Love like they scripted the game around Malik Willis. And I just they started off today like slow out of the gate, You thought it was gonna be one of those trap games where we're just gonna get crushed by the worser team,
Right. Well, I heard something interesting, and I forget where I heard it this week, which talks about that script. And one of the ways I've always thought about it as a fan was like, hey, I've got these first 15 plays scripted, and we're going to run these first 15 plays at the beginning of the game. And the way that it was explained, and I forget whose show it was on, was that the script actually is, here's a play I want to run on 3rd and 1. Here's the best play I have on 2nd and 5. Here's the number 1 play I have for 1st and 15, or whatever the case may be. And so you may have 15 plays on there, but it could take you into the 3rd quarter to get to that one of those 15 plays. And so,
Sure.
and so that made a lot more sense to me, because I had never thought of it that way. I always thought, like, when they were talking about Holmgren doing it back, 100 years ago, it was one of those things where, like, well, this is the 3rd play we're going to run. This is the 5th play we're going to run, or whatever the case may be. And it's more situational than that, or at least it's developed that way to where it's more situational than that. And that seems to make a lot more sense to me. I think Jordan Love's still maybe a half a step off in his throws to his receivers, right? So like the throw to Wicks at the end of the game, if that would have been a half a step further, I think he could have come down with that. I mean, I don't know. His hands are pretty brick right now, but and there was a couple other ones that were like that too, where it just seemed like it was a half a step further that the receiver would have had a better shot at catching the ball.
Yeah. I mean, he was getting some good pressure at him from the Rams defensive line. One thing we didn't see from the Packers defensive line until the very end of the game, which is, I mean, it's ideal to have it at the end of the game, but it's more ideal to have it throughout the whole game. Right. Not just give up all these big plays, to have it come down to 1 or 2 plays at the end of the game to where you win the game. You don't want to. I mean, I get a win is a win, but all the money you have invested on that defensive line, and some players go MIA during the game,
and that's the struggle I think we have as fans sometimes, is that you want production to come from where your team has made the most financial investments, right? And so you give a Kenny Clark, you give a Rashawn Gary, you give these people the money, and then your expectation is going to be that they're going to be the ones that are going to be making the plays like Xavier McKinney has done since he's gotten a Green Bay, obviously.
Wow.
Yeah, insane.
He's my next. I think I made the decision today. He's gonna be my next uniform purchase. I think is gonna be McKinney because I think he's gonna be a Packer for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's a good call on there. That he's not going anywhere. But then I mean, Carl Brooks. Carl Brooks had a really, really good game this game. But he's not, he's not who we expect to have that really good game. We expect that game to come from Kenny Clark, right? And so it's just, it's like a blessing of riches, I guess, if you can get production from guys that you're not necessarily expecting it from. But at the same time, as fans, we're like, yeah, Rashawn Gary's got 1 sack in the last 15 games or whatever it is. And you're like, come on, like, we need to do better than that when Edgerrin Cooper is, playing lights out as a rookie. And he doesn't have the sack numbers, but even on that touchdown that the Rams got late in the game, if he had 2 more inches on his fingertips, I think he would have INT'd that ball. So his instincts are really good. He's got really good instincts. And I think that, I don't know why he's not on the field more, because he seems to be an upgrade from what they have. But we just expect production from the people that we're giving, from the players that the team is giving money to that we're fans of.
I get Kenny Clark. His job is to take on double teams to free up space so the linebackers can see the backfield more and find the ball better. So I think he's doing a good job forcing double teams. He's been in the backfield making tackles, and I've been giving Rashawn Gary a hard time this whole year. But I was looking at video today of holds where he's not getting the calls, or they're literally grabbing him from around the neck and tackling him down from the side. And some of these players are giving the money to, they're taking on 1-2 players, and they're freeing up room for these other guys who aren't making the amount of money or don't have the name yet, like a Rashawn Gary or a Kenny Clark or Preston Smith, and they're getting in there and they're making a name for themselves at a young age. So it's works both ways, I guess.
Yeah, but it's just, to me, there was a play, I forget when it was. I think it was in the second quarter. It was just a little, not a shuttle pass, but it was kind of like one of those little dump off bubble screen kind of things. And Preston Smith ended up making the tackle 7 yards downfield, but just watching him on the field with his speed in comparison to some of the younger players that we have, if that would have been Edgerrin Cooper in that position, I think it would have been a tackle for minimal gain or maybe even a loss, because he has that just closing speed, right? And so it's so hard on the defense because it's all new to them too. It's a new system, it's a new coach and all that. And I'm just hoping that there's going to be a clicking moment for the defense like there was for the offense last year.
Yeah, and I think we'll get that moment. And the thing is, too, but I think when we get Jair back, the defense plays on a whole different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I was saying all along and before the season started that, and I think Eric Stokes is going to come back and make a big impact. Well, so far he hasn't really made too much of an impact. I know he slipped on that one touchdown pass, but even if he slipped, I think he still would have been behind the receiver.
Right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I know he's coming off a major injury, and I wish the best for him, but he's not. So far, he's not really doing anything that sticks out to me.
No, I agree with you. It's just all of the players that get the spotlight shined on them in a moment of weakness. How many times did the Rams throw the ball? 35, 40 times, right? But we don't see Stokes except for the 5 times that he's a part of the play, right? And so, and unfortunately, usually 3 or 4 of those 5 times that we get to see him, you know, in the replay, he's getting beat or he slips or he's whatever, you know. And so, I mean, he had a couple plays that were okay, but he wasn't going up against the Rams' number 1 and 2 receivers either. You
Right.
know, so
Actually, he did have that one play towards the end of the game where he kept himself like he was like right behind the receiver, and he played the ball and he had his body between the player and the sideline, and he said that's exactly the way you want to play. And that's, you know, like you said though, he's the 3 or 4 times they show us him on the replays, he's getting beat. So, and again, they didn't have, you know, their top receivers either. I mean, that makes a big difference as well, you know.
Yeah. We're going up against the Vikings again this week, but we still gave up, you know, I don't know. Did Stafford get 300 yards passing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
He always seems to throw good against the Packers.
That's it. That's that line coming out in him still.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think what was it?
He had 260 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Okay. Yeah.
So
not 300. So that's not, I mean, that's kind of always my, like we need to shore up the defense if somebody's getting 300 yards on us, you know, and they did get 100 yards rushing, I think, though, because that one kid, God dang, like that running back that the Rams have, there was 3 or 4 times that I thought he was going to be tackled for a loss, and he ended up making 4 yards or 5 yards on it. Like, he's got really good vision. That kid's something special. So
yeah,
that Williams kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's just it's crazy how it seems to be like I mean, probably just because we're like Packer fans, and I'm sure it happens with other teams' fan bases, but it's like some of these players we play against that we've never heard of in our life before seem to have like their best games against the Packers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's true. But now we know how everybody feels when Bo Melton makes an 80-yard touchdown grab, right? Because nobody besides Packer fans know who the heck Bo Melton is, right? So yeah, I guess take it, you know.
I wonder what was said at halftime to make the Packers make the adjustment to come out, and they just seem like they just came out a different team in the second half.
Well, I'm grateful for that, because I remember years and years and years of there was just seemed to be no adjustments. You know, like there was times I feel with Holmgren that there was like we didn't make any adjustments, and then the same thing with McCarthy. We didn't make any adjustments. Like, and it seems like LaFleur is at least willing to say, okay, this is what the defense is giving us. This is what we need to take. You know, if we need to run the ball more, I don't think anybody's going to be. I mean, how many years did we suffer with when you're going to get Aaron Jones the ball more? You know, I mean, that was something that constantly for the last 2 years was like, Aaron Jones didn't get the ball. Aaron Jones didn't get, like, they didn't make adjustments when it seemed like Aaron Jones could have a big day. And it seems at least now when Aaron Jones isn't there, when Aaron Rodgers isn't there, that he can make adjustments and have the offense take the layups that the defense is giving them. And so, yeah, I don't know.
That too. I mean, you look at I mean, this might be totally off topic. I mean, you bring up Aaron Jones. He went out today with a hip injury out of the Vikings game, right? So, and all of a sudden the Vikings almost got beat, come behind victory from the Jets. If Josh Jacobs goes down, we have Emmanuel Wilson that can come in and get productive yards. we had Aaron Jones go down. We didn't really have, besides when we had Jamal Williams, didn't really
Right.
have. I mean, AJ Dillon. I guess in my opinion, the best game AJ Dillon had as a Packer was against the Titans in Green Bay when the Packers held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards rushing. Like, I forgot what the stat was, and I mean that's when Aaron Jones was out, and I think Dillon was the starter, and he had a really good game. I
Right.
mean, I love AJ Dillon, but sometimes you gotta put. I don't know. I just think Aaron Jones. The Packers. I think they knew what they're doing when they released him and picked up Josh Jacobs. So
Yeah, and I think they're being smart with him too. I mean, you want Josh Jacobs to be your bell cow back in December, right? And so if you can give Eric Wilson some touches now and not run Josh Jacobs 25 times a game to start the season, but you can do that then later in December and January, that's when when defenses are beat up at the end of the season like that. I mean, the NFL is a grueling schedule, and if we can get some home playoff games, or we can at least smash it down people's throats in December and January with Josh Jacobs, I mean that's what you want. You
yeah,
don't need in September and October.
and hopefully by then we'll have Marshawn Lloyd back too. You have a 1-2-3 combo, and it's funny. You mentioned teams being beat down towards the end of the year. Well, the Colts' run defense was pretty fresh out the gate, and we had 164 yards against them in the first quarter. So, whatever the floor is cooking, I'm going to eat it because I think what he's doing is a good thing. He definitely has the mind to, I think, get successful plays out there, and I saw along that. This is what we brought him to Green Bay for. And I think him and Rodgers did butt heads, just not in the media, And I think it's a perfect system for Jordan Love to be in with the weapons that he has at his disposal.
Yeah, and I think being able to adapt your game plan to the players that you have, right? And so that's what we saw with the Malik Willis thing, right? Like, okay, I don't have Jordan Love now. What can I do? I know. I did coach Marcus Mariota when I was in Tennessee, and he has a similar skill set to Malik Willis. So let's see what those plays can do, right? And so, and that was Mariota's best season as a quarterback, right? And so he broke out some of those plays and allowed, Malik Willis to do what he did best, not asking him to be, Jordan Love Jr.
Right. Yeah. So, the one thing that I think got me kind of nervous today was when Jordan Love, I think he should have taken the safety. I don't think he's trying to hit. Was it Kraft?
Yeah, it was Kraft.
But I think he was trying to throw the ball out of bounds past the line of scrimmage, not necessarily throw it to Kraft. Just trying to throw it away and not getting called for intentional grounding in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? But that was a dumb play. That was stupid.
Yeah, but if you go back and you watch that play, Kraft was a statue for like a half a second there. Like if he would have moved at the same time that the defense moved for that ball, he would have caught it, or he at least would have knocked it down if he dropped it, right? And so he for whatever reason, he was frozen there for a second and didn't make the move. At least that's what I got from watching the replay, was that the defensive back or the linebacker seemed to be able to get two steps when Kraft was just stuck in the mud there for whatever reason.
Yeah,
he wasn't expecting the throw. I mean, but still, yeah.
That was what did you say? Love's first pick of his career was today.
Yeah, first pick 6. Yeah,
pick 6. Yeah. But I mean, during the game, I'm writing down notes and everything, and I don't know. Like I thought Love seemed more agile today. Obviously, it's a week further along from his injury. Jacobs actually scored his first touchdown as a Packer, which is crazy. That catch that Reed had, the 59-yarder in between three defenders, was crazy.
That reminded me of Jordy Nelson for some reason. Like that was kind of Jordy Nelson like to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great catch.
And man, I don't know how to take Quay Walker. Like I was so high on him his freshman year, his rookie year. And
Me
then
too.
like last year he I thought was better. I think we had more expectations going into this year with him. Like today, he came to the backfield clean. He missed a wide open free tackle about 3 yards deep in the end zone. I don't know. I just don't know what to think about him. I know he's young and everything, but he just seems to be making some of the wrong plays at the wrong time.
It's kind of like Colby Wooden last year. He would get a bunch of push, right, back into and Carl Brooks too. They would, they're rookies, so they get this push back to the quarterback, but they just couldn't bring them down, right? And so Quay's making these reads, he's shooting these gaps, and sometimes he's, reaching out for an arm tackle because he chose the wrong gap, right? Instead of being right there and being able to meet the running back head on. I mean, you love to see him play fast, but at the same time, you got to play smart. And I know that everybody, I should say, all of us fans were like, last year's defense made everybody think too much, right? And that this year's defense, our expectation was that Hafley's going to simplify it. He's going to make it so that these guys can just use their athleticism and they can play. But they've still got to make decisions out there.
Right.
And if you make the wrong decision, then you're grabbing at jersey instead of being able to like hit a guy and take him down in the hole. So I was high on Quay Walker too. I don't know what the Packers are going to do with him because, what kind of money are you going to give that guy, or are you going to just move on?
They have him at middle linebacker, right?
Yeah.
Put him at outside. Try him at outside linebacker.
That's what I would think.
He can keep his edge. Keep the containment.
Put him and Cooper at the edge, and then have McDuffie play the middle. But for some reason, I don't know, because McDuffie doesn't seem to have the athleticism to me that Quay has, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd put. I mean, then you're Schneiden, Preston Smith. But you can also have that rotation as well. You could have Cooper on one end and Quay on the other. And what about Tyron Hopper in the middle?
Yeah, when
Hopper, get him some experience.
Yeah. I just like there's so much talent on the defensive side. Again, I think we as fans, our expectation is that we would want production from some of these high draft picks. But Evan Williams, I mean,
yes.
But Evan Williams at the very beginning of the game in the first quarter, that long run, he had a chance to wrap a tackle, and instead he just threw a shoulder, and he totally whiffed. He totally whiffed on that long running play. Probably gave up an extra 3 or 4 yards because the guy was tackled right after that, right? But he just went for one of these shoulder moves, like I'm going to tough guy you down to the ground without wrapping you up, and he whiffed. Like, he was bad. But it was good to see him come back and bounce back, and then have those good plays at the end of the game.
It's crazy too. Like I always butcher his name, Engadbare. He had that punch fumble that McKinney recovered, and then later on in the game, McKinney had his fifth. That's crazy. Yeah. He's had an interception in his first 5 games as the Packer, where he set like some record since I think the first player since like 1970 in the NFL to do that or something like that, and the first player in Packer team history to do that.
That's insane. That's insane.
And he's 24 years old. 24 years old.
Right? And the Giants just let him walk. They just let him, we don't need you. We don't need Saquon Barkley. We don't need anybody. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. So,
and you can tell he's enjoying Green Bay. You know,
yeah.
at least playing on the team. Maybe not the city so much, but
yeah.
But at the same time, when there's a city that ain't much to do, you can't be getting in trouble. You know,
that's true. And there's nothing to do but play football. You know,
that was Charles Woodson's famous saying is, there's not really much to do. He just sat in his condo and read,
yeah. Go through the playbook another time. But what was funny to me is they were making that comparison to 85 with Kraft and Boyd Dowler, right? And during the game. And then Dan Whelan probably made the best catch of the game, right? On that high snap to him in the end zone when he was punting the ball, right? Like, so does the punter need to get some reps at wide receiver now for the Packers because he has good hands? Like,
no, we just got to get Watson and Dobbs back.
It's just crazy. Like, that was probably the best catch. That was probably the best catch of the game right there. Besides the Reed catch was Whalen. He jumps up and he gets the punt and then he was able to get it off and everything. Granted, I think it only went 30 yards or whatever, but still,
then wasn't there a flag on that? He had to punt again after that. They had to redo it.
Yeah.
So that catch, if it would have been a safety, wouldn't have counted. Unless the team would have declined it and got the safety instead. But he won. He got some air for that catch for sure. Like, I'm like, oh my god, he's like got to be probably one of the best verticals on the team. Yeah.
So that was a good catch. But just the Packers used to have a punter that was also a wide receiver. So that made me think of that. So
back when you had guys playing 3 or 4 positions at a time.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But what do you think of Emmanuel Wilson so far? Like, I don't want to take away catches from Josh Jacobs, but at the same time, like, he's really good. I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah, I think we got a good player in Emmanuel Wilson. He's a good relief for Jacobs when he gets tired. I think he's going to be more effective when we get full strength at offense. Because I mean, the teams had to have known that we're going to be running the ball today because we're down Watson and Dobbs. I mean, I'm not saying our backup receivers are terrible, but you can't always be passing the ball. And Wicks, that one slant, I thought he tore his ACL when he came down because his leg came down kind of weird. And then other times he's dropping the ball. And I mean, we had Tucker Kraft and Reed were pretty much our weapons today in offense, and Josh Jacobs. So I mean, I think Emmanuel Wilson's going to be good. He's got the speed. I liked how they were able to bounce the ball outside, as far as like they went to go up the middle, and then Jacobs just went around, the outside edge, and got his
finding
touchdown.
that second hole, finding that second hole wherever it is, right? And so I was thinking that too, like Wilson, but maybe that's more part of the Rams' defensive ends. We're just crashing down and not protecting the outside. But like, who cares? Take it,
Yeah, like I coach 5th and 6th grade youth football, and it's funny. Like, you tell them the kids, all the kids, they always want to run outside. Like, run outside. They want to make that long stretch outside, and it's like they don't really look upfield to see if there's a hole they can cut up. And it's just good to see the pros cutting it. I mean, Jacobs did a good job today. He got bunched up in the middle, and he just bounced it outside, and he made a good play. I don't know. I like Josh Jacobs.
So do
I liked him when he was in Alabama. Obviously, I'm a Wisconsin boy. I love the Badgers, but I was really high on getting. I wish we would have gotten Braylon Allen too in the draft, but we didn't. But I like Josh Jacobs. I like the way he runs. How he runs. He runs mean. Yeah. And he doesn't really have that cocky attitude either. He's just a hard runner. Plays over with. He goes back to the huddle. He's not getting in people's faces and all that noise. So
yeah. And he seemed like Xavier McKinney, he seems to very much appreciate being in Green Bay and what that offers as far as less distractions, more focus on your job and your craft, and just being able to take advantage of it.
Yeah. One thing, too, that I was impressed with that made me happy. I know I said earlier this week on Twitter that we should trade. Just joking, obviously. I have sense of humor. Come on, guys. We should trade Narveson and Romeo Dubs for Garrett Wilson. But Narveson had I think he had a key make today. A lot of pressure to make. He had a lot of pressure to make that kick today. He made it to make it a 13-10 game.
Okay, I don't know journalism. I don't do journalism, right? But
same here.
he had Narveson had a patch on the back of his arm, and it looked to me like it's the same kind of patch that you get for diabetes.
Yep.
So he had it was right here on his arm, and it looked like one of those patches that people. So maybe, I mean, I'm just throwing out. Did he recently get diagnosed with diabetes and then had sugar spikes and things like that from the game? And who
knows? I noticed that a couple of weeks ago. It was on the opposite arm. It was on his right arm.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I was thinking the same thing, Todd. I'm like, what? I'm like, is he diabetic? He might be.
So then make sure he's got a cookie before he goes out there and kicks a field goal,
cookie
or whatever it takes, right? An apple, get the guy some food before he goes out there to kick. I mean, we're not
a Gatorade bottle full of apple juice.
Yeah, there you go. We're not talking Charles Martin 1970 hot dog on the sidelines. I mean, the guy's diabetic. Get him some food, right?
Right. Yeah, well, one good thing that I did see Wicks doing on that Kraft touchdown was blocking downfield.
Yeah.
If you want to be a receiver for the Packers, you got to block downfield. That's one thing that's always been a high thing in Green Bay.
All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, Romeo. What do you think?
I don't know, because I saw the one pregame when how they show up to the field. The one guy had a shirt. Was it Elton Jenkins? Something about I forgot what it was. Something to do when it had the number for had a phone number to call for if you ever need help or something like that. I forgot something. We don't. I was thinking maybe it's a reference to Romeo Dubs. Maybe something's going on, like depression or. Apparently the staff went to his house this weekend, from what I saw, and he was just sitting at home or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, there was that one clip last week where he came off the field and threw his helmet. Maybe that was the lead. I don't know until actual things come out, and if he talks and explains, just learn and move on. I can understand with having all those good receivers, and if you're getting upset, you're not getting the ball. But he's been one of the main targets all 4 games he's been in this year.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he's a 23 or 24-year-old kid, right? Right. I mean, I know he's a professional football player, and I know that he's played in college, he's played under circumstances before and stuff like that. But these are young guys.
Yeah.
I've never done anything in front of 90,000 people. I mean, I've never done anything like that, right? And so to go in, week out, and then to be laying your body on the line, like you're saying, for going down and blocking for 2 games from when Malik Willis is, the quarterback, and you're not going to get the ball, right? And so to put in all that effort, to put in all that work, and then, have a game where you're not getting targets or something like that, maybe it eats at him. Or maybe he's got a bunch of people chirping in his ear saying that he's better than this, right? And they want him to be those people that are maybe in his friend circle might be telling him he's a wide receiver 1, you don't need to be playing this team ball kind of thing. You need to be more like the receivers on other teams, right, that are demanding the ball and things like that, right? Like, but the kid's always struck me as being like such a good guy, and I love the way
Yeah.
that he never smiles. Like I think he's hilarious, when he's always like not smiling for the camera and things like that. Like I really like him, and so I what I don't like is I don't like fans jumping to conclusions and saying the kid's a bum and let's throw him away. Like that just eats at me a little bit because they're young
No,
guys.
because I mean, and that's the thing too is you get a lot of these young kids and they come across, they don't come across. They've worked their way to get to this level to make this money, and I think it was kind of a thing too. Like I don't know, I always said when you'd have receivers mad in Green Bay, and like they you get receivers in Green Bay who gets the ball to them. I mean, look at Greg Jennings. He made his money after he was in Green Bay because who he had as a quarterback in Green Bay.
Right.
He goes to the Vikings, he goes to the Dolphins, and he's a nobody. And he's talking all this trash about Aaron Rodgers. Well, Aaron Rodgers is the reason why you have all this money in your bank account.
Right.
If you would have had an average quarterback, you wouldn't have had that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just nowadays social media and stuff, and it's just it can be consuming for a player. I mean, maybe he saw some things or just something got in his head, and I don't know. Maybe he has an agent barking in his ear. Who knows?
Yeah.
Is his agent Drew Rosenberg? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's you just hope all is well for him. I just really hope he can find a good spot to be in, and like LaFleur said, the Packers will welcome him back, this next week or whatever. So hopefully they can iron things out.
Yeah, and hopefully if there is something that he needs, for his mental health or whatever the case may be, that hopefully he gets it, because I mean, football is a violent sport. I mean, it's pretty violent. You're out there putting your livelihood on the line almost every game, or every play of every game, right? And so, who knows what his situation is, and we as fans should try to give players a little more grace in what's going on in their personal life, right? Like we don't know what's going on, like all day long. I'm going to say, Devontae Wicks for 2 weeks has had brick hands, right? But that happened within the confines of the football field, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'll say, he's had brick hands. I mean, I still love Devontae Wicks. He's still on my fantasy team. I just wish he just catch the damn ball, right? But when something like this happens for a player, I think we should just be backing off a little bit and be like, just give the player some space.
And one thing too that this makes you think about is another player on the Packers who's been through hell since he's been in the NFL is Christian Watson. I mean, if he would have been healthy his whole career up to this point, he'd be the best receiver in the NFL.
Oh, easily. Easily. And he's got so much talent.
Just think of be like, well, God, him thinking, man, I should have more money than this. I could be the best receiver in the NFL, but I got hurt playing for the Packers. They did me wrong or whatever. But no, he's taking it as it is, and seems to be keeping a good head as far as we know. And I don't know. You just, like you said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors with these players, and they're probably facing a lot of pressure from the people around them and everything. And
well, one thing in Christian Watson's favor is his dad played in the NFL, right? And so I think his dad can kind of be one of those shields a little bit to make sure that family members or friends or whatever aren't saying the things to Watson to make him, like become disgruntled or dissatisfied with his position or whatever the case may be. Like he wouldn't have gotten hurt if he wasn't trying to catch that ball from Jordan Love, right? Last week, and there's probably 70% of receivers in the NFL that wouldn't have gone and tried to catch that ball.
How many receivers in the NFL thought in their head that there's no way in hell I'm going to go get that ball that my receiver just or my quarterback just led me into a trap to get lit up and get hurt, you know?
Yeah. But he went and did it. He tried, you know, and you can't ask for anything more than that. I mean, like he's out there giving it his all, you know, and that's, I think, what we need to appreciate as fans is, you know, regardless of whatever the outcome is, you know, there's players that are out there that are trying, and I haven't really seen any quit in this team. I haven't seen anybody that I can call out and be like, yeah, I don't think you're trying at all, you know?
Yeah, they're all trying. It's just sometimes the person they're going up against is trying harder.
Yeah.
You know,
I was watching before the Packer game came on. I think it was Jacksonville. The Jacksonville game, I think, was playing before, or they had cut away to the Jacksonville game or whatever. And they were on offense, and Trevor Lawrence had like, I don't know, like a 3rd and 15 or some crazy thing like that. And they did trips to the wide side of the field, and every one of the receivers just did a stop route. Like they all went different lengths, right? But they all did comeback routes, you know, one at 7 yards, one at 12 yards, and one at 18 yards or whatever. Like that's what the play was. And I was just like looking at we are so lucky to have Matt LaFleur like that. I've never seen that play run in Green Bay, right? Like if you can't come up with something, that's a high school play. Like if you can't come up with something more in the fourth quarter, 3rd and 15 or whatever, you can't come up with a better play than that. Let's all do stop routes. Like it just blew me away that was an NFL play in an actual game. Like,
yeah, it's like 60% of your guys that are eligible to touch the ball aren't even past the yards to gain.
Yes. Yeah. I was just like, come on, we got it. And they were always talking about like all of the popular shows are always talking about, you know, well, Matt LaFleur is scheming these guys open, and that's why Jordan Love is being successful or whatever, because he has this coach or whatever. Well, what's stopping other coaches from doing that? Like what, like, you know what I mean? Like, I understand that we're very lucky to have him, but at the same time, like they all watch film. That's what their job is. Like, So the marriage between the quarterback and the coach, and then the coaching staff and the position players, like we're so blessed in Green Bay right now. Like, I just don't know. Like I look at other teams and I'm just going, those are some real poop shows over there, you know, wherever else.
That's like even like in youth football, we tell the kids, like if they're a receiver or if there's like a run play and, you know, your pass or your run blocking, say your offensive line, and you hit the tackle, then you go on to the next level. You find the linebacker or find somebody that's not your teammate and just knock them down. Go to the next, just find someone. If you're running around trying to block somebody, you don't know who to block, just somewhere on the other team that isn't your teammate, and just knock them over, you know?
Yeah.
And you got people in the NFL making all these millions of dollars that are having these kids go, you know, you need 3rd and 15. Hey, you go up 3 yards and come back. You go up 5 yards, come back. You go up 7 yards and come back. And do what? You know?
Yeah.
You stand there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It is.
No, I was watching Aaron Rodgers throw the interception at the end of the game today. The typical Aaron Rodgers. You know?
I didn't see it, so
they were down 17-23. There was like a minute to go, and they're driving down, and he threw it. The guy did put hands on the receiver past the 5 yards. It should, I mean, if you know you want to call it the way the NFL should call it should have been a flag, but it was Stephen Gilmore made the interception to end the game. But the Jets had a chance to beat the Vikings, but oh well. Yeah. But even like even like today, the penalties are just killing us. The pass interference, the holdings, the false starts, man,
There
it's
was
just
fewer than there was fewer than there was in other games. So at least we're trending up as far as that's concerned.
right.
I don't think there was any calls on. No, there was one call on Zach Tom. I forget what it was. There was a call on Zach Tom, but I don't think that we had any other calls on the offensive line. We did get a holding call on Malik Heath. I remember that. And I
Yeah.
remember it because I was like, oh, Wallace hasn't gotten a holding penalty yet or a false start. Because that's what I was thinking in my head at the time, because I think it was the third quarter or maybe it was the second quarter when Heath got that holding call. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I haven't heard Wallace's name get called for any penalties right now.
Yeah, there
So,
was a holding call in the first half. I just didn't have it written down who it was. But I wrote down 9 minutes to go in the second half, and Green Bay had 44 yards rushing. The LA's 93. I'm like, we're the second best rushing offense out there, and they're one of the worst teams in run defense.
yeah. Yeah, and we were throwing the ball. I mean, they had a pretty stout defensive pass rush, but
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, we weren't running the ball or gashing them the way that we should. Jaden Reed did have a couple nice runs, but we haven't shown the creativeness that we did the 2 weeks that Malik Willis was quarterback. We haven't shown that with Jordan Love as our quarterback yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully they can, fix that into their playbook here coming up in these next couple of next few games. Who do they have next, Todd? I didn't even.
Arizona, who just
they won today, right?
Yeah, they beat San Francisco. Yeah, yeah, and then we got Houston after that, and that Houston game's the C.J. Stroud versus Jordan Love Super Bowl that everybody preseason was saying that this was going to be a Super Bowl preview. So yeah, 2 next games we got are pretty tough.
Yeah. Well, the one good thing about the Houston game is it's in Green Bay.
Yeah, so is Arizona though.
Is it back-to-back games?
Yeah, next 2 games are at home.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, I mean, I just multiple times wrote down no pressure by the D line, bad pass coverage. I'm just getting so mad. I'm writing the same thing over and over and over. The only bright side with the defense was, like I said, like towards the end, and then when Angabar had that punch fumble and recovered and returned by McKinney, and McKinney had the interception. Cooper had a big sack on 3rd and 16 in the first half.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think of LVN right now? Like, he's kind of no-show too. I mean, I know we're all on Rashawn Gary and everything like that, but
I don't know. He's been in on some tackles, on some short gains. It's only his second year, so I mean, I don't know. I still give him a little bit of leeway, but he has the size and body to be a monster for sure.
Yeah, it just seems to me that he washes himself out of plays.
He does.
He ends up making a move, but the move ends up being so far away from where the play was actually going that, I mean, I know he's got athleticism and stuff like that, but you're taking yourself out of the play. And a lot of those times I feel like he's getting blocked by back, on that, so he gets chipped by the lineman, and then he gets to take on a back, but then he ends up taking such a wide circle that he's nowhere near the quarterback when the quarterback throws the ball.
Yeah, I just get so frustrated, like when you see the line and you're getting no penetration at all on the offensive line, and you give one of the best arms in the NFL for how many years in a row, one of the best arms, Stafford, all this time to hit somebody wide open. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, this gets some pressure on him,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and you don't have Jair, and so then that's a trickle down. You got, Stokes on their best receiver, although gratefully they didn't have their best receivers. I mean, I don't know how this game would have played if they did, but and then that kid that they from Texas or whatever, that rookie, he ended up going out, I think in the fourth quarter, right before their final drive. That Willington kid or whatever his name was, I forget what his name was. He
Okay.
was there. He had a bunch of catches today, but he ended up leaving the game like right in the fourth quarter. I don't think he was on the field for their last drive. So I think that might have helped us some too.
Yeah. Bullard, what do you think about Javon Bullard?
I love him. I hope they play him more. I hope they play him closer to the line of scrimmage more. He's a tackling machine. Lived in Georgia, watched him play at Georgia. He's not afraid of anybody.
Right.
So I like him a lot.
Let's get our little what we think we're going to see against Arizona. Then I'll close the showdown for the night, and for sure, definitely want to get you back out again sometime during the season. We'll work that out.
Okay.
Off of.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Maybe one of these days you'll have to come up to Green Bay.
I've got to. I mean,
You have to.
I'm such a homebody though. I love the idea of going to the game. Like, all of our Twitter friends had that big Twitter tailgating thing like that, and I wanted to go to that. I don't know. I'm such a homebody. I thought, moving back to Wisconsin, hopefully that I would become more social again, right? But it just hasn't worked out that way.
No, I'm not saying go to a game. I'm saying you should come up to Green Bay, go out to lunch one day or something like that.
Yeah. That's probably a lot more in my wheelhouse than actually being around 90,000 people. But yeah, definitely.
What do you think we will see with the Packers against the Cardinals?
I'm hoping that we see Kyler Murray's such a good quarterback, but he's small in stature, right? So he's not as big as Jalen Hurts. He's not as big as, some of the mobile quarterbacks that we've seen. So hopefully we see a lot of penetration by the D-line. I hope we see a lot of hands up and a lot of knockdown passes. Hopefully see containment and don't let them just run around and make plays on defense. Hopefully we see a 6th INT from Xavier, which would be so stupid.
Would blow up.
Which would just be so insane. I'd like to see a healthy dose of Josh Jacobs. I'd like to see him get 100 yards. I'd like to see him get a touchdown reception, which he hasn't had one in his career, which I think that's just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I hope Christian Watson's back healthy. I hope Dobbs is back healthy, whatever he's got going on. And hopefully Wicks catches the ball when it's thrown his way. I like 9 targets and like 3 catches or something like that. That's just insane to me.
Right.
And I thought he was going to be such a breakout player this year. I really did. I was so high.
From what he showed us last year, we thought,
oh my gosh.
It's still in there somewhere. The videos, the off-season workout videos that everyone was posting up, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be a beast. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been decent, but I mean, he's had some crucial drops today that could have sealed the game early in the second half, or late in the second half, I guess.
Yeah,
but I think hopefully I hope we see Jair back.
Yes.
On Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
I think if we can shut down Harrison Jr. and stop the run, I think it's going to be a defensive feast for the Packers.
Yeah,
being a home game, and score a lot of points, gets his team going for sure.
Yeah, Yeah. So, I mean, that's another thing. Like, I think we all expected the Packers to pick up immediately right where they left off last season. You know, when we saw them almost beat San Francisco and crush Dallas and all that stuff. But it's still a new season. There's still new guys. There's still new things that they have to learn. And so, I mean, I think if things aren't clicking by week 7, okay, now maybe we've got some issues, right? But if they can get the ship righted and, you know, game 6 and 7, things are clicking, and then they go into the bye week or whatever, or maybe they've got 3 games before the bye week. But I think they should have it clicking by the time they get to the bye week, right?
For sure.
Like, oh, this is the Packers that we all expected to see. This is the one. They can dismantle Dallas again. They can dismantle San Francisco, you know. But
well, considering that we had 2 weeks that everyone else put us to sleep, and we had Malik Willis coming and get us 2 wins, we could easily be, what are we now, 3-2? We could be, you know, 2-4 or whatever, you know, 1-4. We could easily have just 1 win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, this
is Jordan Love's first win of the season.
Yeah. I think we got this is gonna sound crazy, but I think we gotta make Malik Willis the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL. You don't want him to go somewhere else and come back and bite us in the butt, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless he goes somewhere where there's a coach like LaFleur, you know what I mean? Like, how do you have that guy on your team and you don't see the talent?
Right.
You know,
and
like
LaFleur had him on his team. Or LaFleur knew that system because he was a coach in Tennessee. So he kind of knew in a way, you know. But yeah, we will see what the Cardinals bring to Green Bay next week, and hopefully we can squeak out with a win and be 4-2.
Yeah, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, build up the confidence to come up to Green Bay. One day we'll meet for lunch and go
get some cheese from your cheese shop.
We'll go get some cheese. Isn't that crazy? Little 7 individual 14-ounce bags of fresh cheese.
That's crazy. What's the name of the shop again?
Scray.
Scray.
It's my pinned on my profile on Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. But yeah, I just walk in there thinking, you know, maybe like, you know, their favorite, you know, you can look at your online store and they can like put in some code word that you know that it came from me and it's whatever, and it's like, oh, we could do like the curd sampler. I'm like, what's the curd sampler? I just go in there and I just buy cheese in big armfuls, you know, and like, oh, it's, you know, it's 7 bags of our fresh cheese curds. Like, well, what are your flavors? And there's like 7 different flavors. I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting anything that big, but hey, thank you. You know, it's awesome that you're supporting. And you're like, oh yeah, definitely. You know, we like supporting those that support us. And it's like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, I've been going there for years.
Whoever wins that needs to give those out as Christmas presents is what they should do.
Whoever wins that needs to have a Packer party and just have cheese out.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Well, Todd, thanks for being on tonight. Like I said, we'll get together for you to be on again during the season, and I'll look at the calendar and throw some dates at you, and we'll go from there.
Sounds great. I appreciate it all the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Again, get the courage to come to Green Bay. We'll meet up one of these days.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Go Pack Go.
Thank you. Go Pack Go.
Yep.